car pulled up, went around him, shot him. Whole clip full into his head. He's deceased, boss. The truck's in the middle of the road.
He's dead?
Yes, sir. Brains are on the road.
Revenge can be chilling, especially when caught on camera, revealing the darkest depths people can reach when pushed too far. From shocking betrayals to terrifying setups, these moments, captured in real time, leave an eerie glimpse into human nature at its most vengeful. Some acts are coldly calculated, while others burst forth in raw, unfiltered fury, each one carrying a story of betrayal, pain, and retribution. Prepare to witness some of the most disturbing revenges ever documented. Gang rivalry ends. Greek criminal's life. Vangelis Zambounis, a notorious Greek mafia boss, was taken out in a high-profile ambush in Athens on a Sunday night in January 2024. He was gunned down while sitting in his armored car at a gas station as masked assailants opened fire with AK-47 assault rifles. The attackers shot him multiple times, including in the head, after initially targeting the vehicle's armor with several rounds. Police found 96 shell casings at the scene and later recovered firearms, including the guns used in the attack. Zambounis was a major figure in the underworld, believed to be involved in a variety of illicit activities such as fuel and tobacco smuggling, as well as narcotics distribution. He had survived a previous attempt on his life in 2018, and police had been investigating ongoing rivalries and threats against him. The incident is suspected to be linked to gang rivalries, possibly involving Albanian criminal groups, and may have been a retaliation or part of a broader territorial dispute within the criminal underworld. Reports also suggest that Zambounis was involved in violent conflicts with other mafia factions, and that his death could be connected to the competition among criminal organizations for control of smuggling routes. Revenge of Mary Ann. If you think mafia rivalries are cutthroat, you probably haven't seen a mother's wrath in the face of her child's anguish. In this next tragedy involving a mother's vengeance unfolded in Germany, where Anna B.'s life was tragically altered forever. Anna B., a lively 7-year-old, loved helping her dad at his pub in Lübeck, Germany. Her mom, Mary Ann, cherished Anna dearly, but everything changed on May 5, 1980, when Anna suddenly went missing. The next day, police said a man named Klaus Grabowski, who had a record of hurting young girls, admitted to taking Anna. He made a shocking claim that Anna tried to get money from him, saying she'd tell her mom about him if he didn't pay. But to Mary Ann, Klaus was a dangerous man who had preyed on her child. Mary Ann's life had already been hard. Her father was very cruel, and her stepfather wasn't any better. At just 15, Mary Ann got pregnant, was abandoned, and had to give up her first baby. After these hardships, she found some peace working at a pub and later met Christian, Anna's father. But now, her beloved Anna was gone. On March 6, 1981, Mary Ann, filled with deep grief and anger, took matters into her own hands. In court, where Klaus was on trial, she brought a gun, shot him 6 times, and ended his life in an instant. This incident caused a countrywide debate, with some people expressing concerns over Mary Ann taking justice into her own hands. On the other hand, a vast majority believed she did the right thing, and Klaus deserved this severe punishment. The jilted daughter, Jennifer Pan. Mary Ann Bachmeier is one extreme of the spectrum, proving her intense love for her daughter. On the other end, we have Jennifer Pan, a daughter who detested her parents so much that she did the unthinkable. On the surface, Jennifer seemed like the perfect daughter. She always tried hard to meet her parents' high expectations, but inside, she was full of anger and sadness. Tired of her parents' strict, controlling nature, Jennifer began to dream of a life without their rules. So, she made a dangerous plan. She wanted revenge, and she hired people to hurt her parents. Jennifer had been living a secret life. She lied about going to university and working at a hospital. Her parents didn't trust her, and soon they found out she had been lying. When they caught her, they punished her by taking away her phone and tracking her every move. This made Jennifer even angrier, especially when her boyfriend Daniel broke up with her. In 2010, Jennifer finally hit her limit. She reconnected with old friends and made plans to hurt her father. But things didn't go as planned. Finally, Jennifer and Daniel decided to pay people to get rid of her parents. On November 8th, the men came into their home. They attacked Jennifer's parents. Her mother lost her life, and her father, Hui Han Pan, was shot. But fortunately, he survived. He was in a coma, which meant she was the eyewitness to the murder. But that changed when her father came out of a coma and told the public his daughter was familiar with those who broke into their home. The whole thing was intended to look like a robbery gone wrong. But as investigators delved into the crime, there were a few unusual details that raised their suspicions, and police began to wonder if Jennifer knew more than originally believed. Jennifer was arrested for her deadly revenge plot, and in 2015, she was sentenced to life in prison after she was found guilty. Her co-conspirators Daniel Wong, David Milvaganam, and Lenford Crawford also received a life sentence. The Gonzalez family tragedy. Jennifer's chilling acts echo a deeply personal tragedy, not unlike that of Seth Gonzalez, whose destructive choices and violent actions shocked the world when he turned on his own family. Seth Gonzalez, a Philippine-born Australian man, was convicted of murdering his parents and younger sister in 2001. From an outsider's perspective, the family appeared to be close-knit. Teddy and Clonidine Gonzalez were strict and stern, but held high expectations for their kids. In reality, the couple abused and controlled their children. At first, he pretended to be a grieving son, even offering a reward for information about the killer. He even tried to trick the authorities by spray painting racist slurs on a wall of his house. However, his strange behavior and conflicting alibis led to an investigation, which eventually connected him to the crime. Gonzalez claimed he killed his parents out of revenge for their harsh treatment of him. They were upset by his academic failures and threatened to cut him off from his wealth. He wanted access to the family estate, worth $1.5 million. After the incident, he tried to live a lavish lifestyle, buying expensive things and checking on the family's finances. In 2004, he was arrested and sentenced to 3 life terms in prison without parole. Despite his conviction, Gonzalez still claims he is innocent. A mother's revenge. While Gonzalez's pursuit of money led to the horrific deaths of his parents, a mother named Sarah, driven by fear for her children, took a different path, one that would ultimately change her life forever after a confrontation with a trusted neighbor. Sarah's story began on November 28, 2014, in London, when she and her 3 kids moved into a new apartment in Silvertown. Sarah, a single mom, wanted a fresh start for her family, and at first, things seemed to go well. Her kids, 12-year-old Bradley and 11-year-old twins, Alphen and Reese, settled into their new school and soon met their elderly neighbor, Michael. Michael was 77 and well known in the community. He often chatted with neighbors and visited the local store. Sarah and Michael became friendly, and Michael even offered Bradley a small job to earn extra money. But then Bradley stopped wanting to work for Michael. In November, Alphen and Reese shared a terrible story with Sarah, saying Michael had hurt them after inviting them to his apartment. Bradley also admitted Michael had hurt him, but was too scared and ashamed to speak up before. Heartbroken, Sarah went to the police. Michael was arrested at first, but was later released and allowed to return to his flat nearby, leaving Sarah and her kids scared. One night, Sarah decided to confront him. She demanded Michael confess, but he refused. In a moment of anger, Sarah attacked him with a knife. She later turned herself in, explaining she lost control out of fear for her kids. However, the authorities revealed it was a determined and sustained attack. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison for the crime. However, many in the community spoke up in her support, saying that she did a good thing and stopped Michael from targeting countless other innocent kids. Gang rivalry. Sarah's tragic loss of control in the face of fear mirrors the revenge-driven shooting of Shamaki Mohamud in London, where gang violence led to an innocent life being taken in broad daylight, further deepening the cycle of revenge. In 2021, a tragic revenge shooting occurred in Haringey, London. The victim, Shamaki Mohamud, was just 22 years old when he was shot by a gang in broad daylight. He was walking along green lanes when he was attacked by Ali Cisse and his gang, who were seeking revenge for a previous incident linked to gang rivalry. The shooting was brutal, with Shamake being struck by several bullets. CCTV footage later revealed the shocking scene of the gang celebrating the murder. It showed their complete disregard for life as they cheered after the attack. The police quickly investigated, leading to the arrest and conviction of the gang members. Cisse was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 35 years. Other gang members were also jailed for their roles in the crime. This incident highlighted the dangerous effects of gang violence and revenge attacks. The court condemned the gang's actions, and their cold-hearted celebration after the shooting shocked many. Father avenges his son's kidnapping. The brutal acts of revenge in gang-riddled London bring to mind the infamous case of Gary Plauche, whose cold-blooded response to his son's kidnapper sparked debates about justice and vigilantism. Gary Plauche's case is one of the most talked-about revenge killings. In 1984, Gary's 11-year-old son, Jody, was kidnapped by a man named Jeff Doucette. Doucette violated Jody and then took him to another state. After a painstaking search, Jody was found and Doucette was arrested. However, before Doucette went to trial, Gary decided to take action. Gary tracked Doucette to the Baton Rouge airport on March 16, 1984, where Doucette was being brought back to face charges. As Doucette walked through the airport, Gary, who had been waiting for him, pulled out a gun and shot him. Doucette died from the gunshot wound. The entire event was captured on video. The video showed Gary calmly walking up to Doucette and shooting him in the head. This footage was seen by many and sparked a lot of discussions. Some people thought Gary was a hero who was protecting his son, while others said it was wrong to take the law into his own hands. Gary was given a 7-year suspended sentence with 5 years probation and 300 more hours of community service, receiving no prison time. When he was questioned as to why he shot Doucette, Gary said, "If somebody did it to your kid, you'd do it too." Shooting of Eulalia Gonzalez. Gary's swift act of revenge in the Baton Rouge airport shares a haunting similarity with the tragic shooting of Eulalia Gonzalez, a mother whose life was taken by a distraught teenager seeking revenge after a relationship ended. In 2019, a tragic incident occurred in Florida when 16-year-old Eli Zachary Shinhoster allegedly killed Eulalia Gonzalez, the mother of his ex-girlfriend, in an act of revenge. According to police reports, the teenager had been distraught after his girlfriend ended their 9-month relationship and had threatened her with violence. He decided to target her family, specifically her mother. On June 27, 2019, Gonzalez was shot in the head while holding her infant daughter on the porch of her home. The suspect reportedly arrived at the scene using a rideshare app, carried out the attack, and then fled the scene in the same manner. A neighbor witnessed the attack and found Gonzalez unresponsive. Despite the efforts of medical personnel, Gonzalez succumbed to her injuries. Shinhoster was arrested soon after and later confessed that the murder was a retaliatory act against his ex-girlfriend for breaking up with him. The suspect faces charges of first-degree murder and firearm possession by a minor. Murder of Brandon Kalicharan. The chilling act of revenge in Florida casts a shadow over the murder of Brandon Kalicharan, a South African underworld figure whose own violent death highlights the harsh realities of organized crime and its devastating effects on families. Kalicharan, who was involved in criminal activities along with his family, was shot in a vehicle in an apparent targeted attack. The incident was particularly shocking due to its brutality and the involvement of several other victims, including his family members. In addition to Kalicharan's violent death, The event was captured on camera, amplifying the media coverage and public interest in the case. It highlighted the extreme violence that often accompanies organized crime in South Africa. Kalicharan had a history of being associated with underworld dealings, and his murder is suspected to be linked to ongoing rivalries within the criminal world. His family's tragic loss and the chilling footage of the shooting have led to further investigations into the broader criminal network he was allegedly part of. This murder is part of a larger pattern of violence linked to organized crime in the country, where high-profile individuals are often targeted. A sibling's tribute. While the underworld's violence took Kalicharan's life, another act of vengeance was brewing in the heart of a grieving sister, Titiana Coppage, whose relentless pursuit of justice for her brother's murder ended in tragedy. Titiana Coppage's life was forever changed when her 16-year-old brother, Jason Ugwu, was tragically killed on January 10, 2021. Jason was a bright student and talented basketball player, and his death shocked the whole community. Devastated and determined to seek justice, Titiana decided to take matters into her own hands. Just 3 days after Jason's tragic death, Keith Lars, a man believed to be the killer, was shot and killed in a parking lot. Another message asked about special bullets for a gun. Titiana had shared a heartbreaking post on Facebook, revealing the pain of losing her family and the struggles she faced growing up. She spoke of trying to protect her family and make sure they had a better life. Titiana's grief was compounded by the memory of 2 younger relatives who had been murdered in 2016, a crime that was never solved. Her quest for justice would ultimately lead to more tragedy. Case of a criminal's revenge. While Titiana's pursuit of justice led her to take matters into her own hands, Jonathan Binney's story also highlights the destructive consequences of revenge driven by blind emotion. He was convicted for the murder of Judy Southern in a home invasion that he did not plan specifically for her. Binney's motivation stemmed from a prior crime he had been accused of. Fearing the harsh treatment he would face in prison as a child molester, he planned to kill someone in a way that would ensure he would go to prison as a murderer instead. Binney entered the Southern family's home through an unlocked window, intending to kill anyone who came first. Unfortunately for Judy, she arrived first and was shot. Binney had fired 2 shots, one of which hit her and then fled the scene. It was only later revealed that he had a history of criminal behavior and had been avoiding the consequences of his actions. A document analysis confirmed that Binney had written the note. Binney's actions were not just about his crime against Judy, but were driven by his own fears and the desire to avoid the justice he knew he deserved. Teacher attacked by infuriated mother. If Jonathan's story hasn't convinced you about fear turning people into fools, this next act of revenge against a school teacher sure will. One day in 2015, at Alderby Gray School in Hempstead, chaos erupted. It started like any other day for Catherine Engelhardt, a middle school teacher, but things had been getting tense. A 12-year-old student, who was the daughter of 34-year-old Annika Mackenzie, had said that Miss Engelhardt was being rough with her. Whether this was true or not, it made Annika very angry. Annika and her 14-year-old niece decided to go to the school and find Miss Engelhardt. Annika was angry about an incident earlier in the day in which she claimed the teacher grabbed her daughter. They easily got past the school security and found her outside her classroom at around 2 in the afternoon. What happened next was shocking. The school's cameras caught the whole thing. Annika pushed Miss Engelhardt against the wall, put her in a headlock, and threw her to the ground. Then, more students joined in, including Annika's niece, who punched Miss Engelhardt in the head even after she was unconscious. Miss Engelhardt was rushed to the hospital for help. The police quickly charged Annika Mackenzie with serious crimes like assault and strangulation. Her bail was set at $5,000. Anaka's 14-year-old niece was also charged. Miriam Rodriguez, a Mexican hero. While Anaka's violent reaction was fueled by a petty issue between a student and teacher, this next woman's vengeance became a driving force in her fight for justice. Her determination and resilience in the face of overwhelming tragedy inspired many devastated parents. In 2012, Miriam Rodriguez became a real-life hero. Her daughter Karen was kidnapped by the Los Zetas cartel, and despite paying the ransom, Karen never came home. Heartbroken, Miriam took matters into her own hands. She investigated the gang member she spoke with during the ransom and followed him to a small ice cream shop. After weeks of searching, Miriam discovered where Karen's body was hidden. Determined, she used clever disguises to gather information and helped the authorities arrest nearly everyone involved in the kidnapping. The criminals began threatening her, and when she asked the government for help, they ignored her. Along with finding her daughter, she made efforts to help other parents whose children had disappeared and eventually created Colectivo de Desaparecidos, or the Vanished Collective organization. Unfortunately, in April 2017, one of her enemies finally got to her. She was attacked in her own home by gunmen who made sure she didn't make it out alive. Villagers take down gangster. Miriam's bravery in taking on the cartel mirrors the courage shown by Anjana Bai Borkar and others in Kurbanagar who fought back against a dangerous man who had terrorized their community for years. Anjana Bai Borkar was one of 5 women arrested for the murder of Aku Yadav, a notorious gangster who had assaulted many women. Aku's violent actions began in 1991, and he victimized over 40 women, including Borkar's daughter. He even killed a woman named Asha Gut in front of her daughter. For years, he terrorized the community and bribed police to ignore his crimes. In 2004, the people of Kurbanagar had had enough. When Aku tried to attack a brave woman named Usha Narayani, the community fought back, inspired by her courage. On August 13, 2004, as Aku headed to court, the women of the town, armed with knives, stones, and chili powder, attacked him. In just 15 minutes, he was dead. The 5 women, including Anjana Bai, were arrested but later released on bail and welcomed back home. TikToker goes bonkers. While the women of Kurbanagar fought against a local criminal, Ali Abulaban's story was rooted in the darker side of jealousy, revenge, and rage. Ali Abulaban, a TikTok influencer with nearly 1 million followers, was convicted for the brutal killings of his wife, Anna Marie Abulaban, and the man he believed was her lover, Rayburn Barron, in October 2021. The crime, which took place in their San Diego apartment, was deeply rooted in jealousy and emotional turmoil. Ali's motive seemed to be driven by suspicions of infidelity, fueled by recordings he made using an app on his daughter's iPad to listen in on his wife's conversations. After hearing what he believed to be incriminating evidence, he broke into the apartment, killed Barron with multiple shots, and then fatally shot his wife in the head. Before the killings, Ali had posted disturbing videos on his social media, some of which featured heated arguments and abusive behavior toward Anna. In one particularly chilling video, Ali, holding a phone, stood over Anna and made threatening comments about their deteriorating marriage. On the day of the murders, he live-streamed his emotions, claiming that he had thrown his whole life away for her. Raymond Frolander, Father of the Year. Ali's emotionally charged, yet well-thought-out crime contrasts with Raymond Frolander's case, where a father's reaction to an unthinkable betrayal led to a violent confrontation. A man who was badly beaten by the father of a young boy he was accused of hurting will spend the next 25 years in prison. Raymond Frolander, who was 18 when he was arrested, made a deal with a court in Daytona, Florida. He agreed to a plea bargain to avoid being sentenced to life in prison for hurting a child. Instead, he admitted to the crime of molesting the boy. This story became well known when pictures showed Frolander's face covered in bruises after the boy's father, Jason Browning, found him hurting his son. Jason beat Frolander so badly that he knocked him out. "I just walked in and found a grown man hurting my child," Jason told the police that day. No charges were filed against Jason for what he did to Frolander. Frolander had been close to the family and had been hurting the boy for a long time, said the police chief, Mike Chitwood. When asked if he thought the father was wrong for taking action on his own, Chitwood said, "Not as a police chief and not as a father. When Frolander leaves prison, he will have to register as a sex offender and wear a GPS tracker." Jason said, after the trial, "He's going to learn in the next 25 years why I let him live." Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.